Welcome everyone to Heart for Excellence. And today we're going to be talking with the one and only Mr. Marek Rudak.
I'm in the hot seat now.
You're in the hot seat. Why do you think I'm smiling? Because
I'm reaping what I've sowed.
because we're going deep and oh boy, a lot of vulnerability and looking back at our past, which is not an easy thing to do. It's messy. It's a bloody mess.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking to Marek about rebounding, recovering from a relationship that was terminated, that was broken.
Yeah.
Post-divorce and what that looked like for him. So, Marek, take it from here, my friend.
Right. So I've talked about my divorce and the fact that it was really amplified by infidelity. And that really hurt. It really did. Because by that time in my life, I felt like everything was clicking. I've achieved a certain amount of success in military, in corporate America. And I was just wrapping up an expat assignment, getting ready to go back home. And my thinking was, hey, we're going to start pumping out kids. And I can finally give to my kids something that I never had myself, a very happy, healthy family life. So when this infidelity came up, I was just stunned. That was like the last thing I expected to happen in my life. And so in the last episode, I talked about pornography. I talked about alcohol. The one blessing that happened, and I don't know if it was Holy Spirit infused, but I just got this idea that I want to do an expat assignment. Part of it might be is because I was just after divorce. Obviously, I lost a lot of money. Part of it probably was greed that, hey, I'll make up some of the money that I lost. But one of the biggest blessings of having that assignment was the fact that I worked offshore. So when you work offshore, there's no alcohol. There's no woman. There are some women, but it's mostly guys. But, there's not like a club scene when you can pick up women or whatnot. So that really helped me. That kind of gave me that 1 year buffer to get my life sorted. And obviously there was times when I was on shore where I did some drinking, did some questionable stuff. But
because you were in a Muslim country? Or?
No, it was a Christian country, Angola.
Okay.
But the thing was that even though I had a house in Luanda, most of the work was happening offshore. And then what happens offshore, it's a very controlled environment because, there's very valuable stuff. It's a construction. So, for example, you get drug and alcohol testing. It's a very controlled and clean environment because that's, the last thing you want to do is have something happen because somebody was drinking or goofing off because that, you're doing with oil, it could explode. A lot of lives and damage to equipment could happen.
Sure.
So that was kind of like the blessing. But then once I got back from Angola, I discovered what I thought was the joys of online dating. I sign up for eHarmony. I'm getting all these matches. So I was like, well, one is great. So what if I do another one, and another one, another one? And it's just like, because I just saw that validation. Yeah. And it was just such an empowering feeling to me at the time to get like a message. And, typically women put their best picture. So it's like, man, I'm a pretty attractive guy, take that, Marek. So I got all these hits. And, the interesting thing is that one of the relationships that I had right after I got back from Angola was actually for a period of time I thought that she was the one. I really felt very blessed, and I actually did some of the things that I wanted to do, like not have sex. But eventually we did, but it wasn't right away. So I did a lot of right things, but it still blew up. It still blew up towards the end. But then I was like, hey, there's plenty of fish where it came from. And so I just got back in this online dating. So I was just basically dating, and then what happened, there was a lot of like first dates where I didn't like the girl didn't like me. And then periodically there would be just kind of like a short but very intense relationship where at the beginning I was like, yes, finally found my soulmate. I got it. It was just a matter of throwing enough stuff on the wall to make it stick. But then about 3 or 4 months into it, it just either ended or that was the beginning of the end. And so that's what really hurt me, was because it's like, man, I feel like I got my career in order. I'm not a perfect Christian, but I'm a decent Christian. Why is this happening to me? And I just was stuck on this kind of hamster wheel where everybody does it, and everybody complains how there's no good women out there. So
it's insanity, isn't it?
Yeah, and then so to me, because everybody else does it, to me it felt like I did the right things. And the key step of faith for me was getting myself out of that world. This whole time, and because this was about a 5-year period when this was happening and when I was doing this online dating, the whole time I got slowly but surely closer to God. I did more prayer, I did more retreats, I read the Bible more, just like very slow but steady increase. Like more and more God came into my life. And one of the ideas, or I don't know what you want to call it, that got planted in my heart was to quit online dating, and I felt like that was, kind of going back to insanity, doing the same thing over again, because I felt like, hey, if this is such a big source of pain in my life, why do I keep going down there? Why do I keep going down there? So long story short, it took me a little bit, but I quit. I deleted all my profiles, and it was hard. It was hard because I literally inevitably from all these dating websites, you get a message per day. And all of a sudden, it's like you look on your phone and there's no messages.
Because now you're kind of confronting yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's not the distractions of, oh, she's pretty. Oh, not her. But this one, oh, maybe.
Yeah.
And the distractions of a pretty lady.
Yeah.
And then when we cut that off, it's like, what do I do now? I got to deal with myself.
I need to find my own source of validation.
Oh, boy.
Ouch.
Uh-oh.
That sucks. And so that was the key, step of faith that really broke the pattern is killing this online dating. I mean, I was still very unhappy in the sense that, hey, why am I single? But at least I got a sense of peace. We talked about that earlier in the morning in our men's group. I got that sense of peace that, hey, I hate it, but yet I get a sense of peace. And that was like the first time where I felt a sense of peace, even though I did something that really makes no sense whatsoever in the real world, right?
Yeah.
So that was the key step, is to take that step of faith. And then another thing that happened is I finally met Jessie. And the interesting thing about Jessie was that when I met her, I was attracted to her. But by that time, I was so jaded with my previous relationships that I was afraid to pursue it. Because I got burned so many times, and it was good enough. I felt like I'm just kind of off this dating, hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Why rock the boat? Why take a risk? Why get yourself hurt again? And so that's kind of something that was a big step change for me, is that I didn't rush into it. I was a lot more cautious, and so, for example, going back to, my kind of equivalent of getting my stuff out there with Jessie was when I asked her to date. One of the key things that she mentioned is that we're not going to have sex till we get married.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
And it's actually, I'm Catholic. We call it theology of the body, which is actually more higher standard. Like by that, we mean like no sexual touching, because there's a lot of ways you can have sex without having sex. None of that, like no touching, no, I mean, obviously I don't get graphical, but you get the picture. It's just no sexual touching. And at the time, again, I was growing my faith, and I was like, wow, what a wonderful thing. But to be honest,
and how old are you at this time, though?
So at the time, I'm 36.
I mean, you're still in your prime at 36 as a man, and you can just look at a woman and just go, whoa, right?
Well, the interesting thing was that I that was my intention in a lot of pre-relationships. So I thought, well, hey, let's make that commitment, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And to be honest, I thought that, I was, when I said yes, I wasn't, deceiving in any shape or form. Sure. But I thought that, hey, this is, that's really what I want to do. But I just, in the back of my mind, thought that, hey, the reality of the situation is we're probably going to slip. But we didn't. The whole 13 months, we didn't slip. And I tell you what, I was not a happy camper. I wasn't like, poopy face all the time, but there was a lot of times it's like, what is this shit, I worked so hard for this, why am I being treated like a kid,
Yeah.
To me, that's like for the kids, the 20-year-olds, because, they're younger, they're dumber, I got some experiences, I should,
We've proved our dumbness.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I should be able to audit this. There was like a lot of privilege that, hey, I've been growing my faith, so I should be able to get some benefits. Is that kind of like that kind of like the bad side of leadership when when you view leadership as a privilege, that, hey, I've been privileged to do it, but we didn't slip. And so that was like one example where we didn't just say we follow God, we actually did follow God, and also, obviously, along the way, there was a lot of things that I said about myself that, back in my online dating world, I would never mention, because I thought, hey, if I say that to her, she's going to walk away. Things like pornography. Luckily, by that time, I was off the pornography thing, but there was a lot of things. I can't think of specific things, but there was a lot of things that I mentioned that I just felt comfortable saying, that, hey, this is my past, and in order for me to love the imperfect person for who they are, I think the fairest thing to do is to let that person know the imperfection that is within me, so that we understand what we're entering ourselves into. And we're not, I guess the image that comes to my mind, because I'm like a image person, have you ever seen those like posters of an iceberg?
Yeah.
And they show how like, there's like a little tippy thing, but then,
1/10.
oh yeah. So I felt, like in my previous relationships or marriage for that matter, we matched ourselves based on that tippy top. And there was this whole sack of things we didn't talk about until it destroyed our marriage. So I think the key step change in our relationship is that we talked about what's all below the surface. And the interesting thing is that the more we talked about what was below the surface, not only didn't turn each other person off, but actually brought us together, because we realized that the funny thing is that we actually matched each other very well. For example, some of the things that made her anxious and intimidated, for me wasn't a big deal. For us, like one classic example is that at the time I was looking to take that step of faith in entrepreneurship. So basically, I would go from this huge fat excellent salary to no salary, and to me that really freaked me out, because
Heck yeah.
because that was my identity. Hey, whatever happens, at least I got a fat paycheck. So talk to the hand. That's my validation. But now all of a sudden, that big source of validation would be gone. But the funny thing is, like, for her, she was like, "Don't worry about this. You got this. I believe in you." So that was like a classic example of something that like really was a big source of fear. For her, wasn't fear at all, and and there was things vice versa. So it was kind of interesting that the more we talked about our baggage, the more we realized just how we're really a perfect match for each other.
What's interesting about that? So often I hear the expression "she completes me" or "he completes me," and I don't agree with that thinking.
Yeah,
I think you've got to figure out how to complete yourself so that you are fully 100% available to your spouse, and that's always a work in progress, right?
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. It's like, there is a complementary relationship there in the dynamics of, I'm strong in this area and she's weak, but she's strong in this area and I'm weak in this area. And somehow we go, man, we complement each other so beautifully. I'm complete in Christ. She's complete in Christ. And when we're both complete, we have lots to offer the marriage. And instead of me taking... I can now give in this marriage. Yeah. That's beautiful.
And another thing is that had we not talked about our mess, we would have missed that opportunity to really connect. We would have just kind of like...
Well, you wouldn't have been able to connect if you didn't talk about the mess, really, because you'd always been hiding the mess and I hope she doesn't find out that this, and this. And when we are walking in secrecy, in a sense, personal secrecy, in our relationship, how do we have freedom and joy when we're always feeling we have to protect something? It goes back to selfishness. And so if I am totally vulnerable and disclose everything to this person I want to spend the rest of my life with, right? I have nothing left to hide. So now I can fully jump into and contribute and be a part of this beautiful relationship.
Yeah, and that really built the foundation, because, I guess if there's two takeaways that I'm kind of tracking from my lessons learned. Obviously there's a lot of lessons, but I would kind of put it on two brows. So the first one is that my misconception that before I thought that mistakes, create a wedge and grow a relationship apart.
Yeah.
Now I realize that mistakes are actually an opportunity to come close together.
Yeah. Communicated in truth and love.
Yeah.
I say truth and love, love and truth. Truth and love, love and truth. You do that, man, we can start, like, relationships can just blossom and grow.
And, don't think that this is, like, easy. I mean, it's always very awkward to say, I screwed up. I mean, it's still very awkward to me. Don't make you think that, hey, it's just like, no, it's not. I mean, it still takes sometimes, maybe a day or two to admit it. But the fact of the matter is that I've seen it in my life, how as uncomfortable it is when you admit your mistakes or you're honest about your shortfalls, how your marriage blesses that, and it's kind of interesting how, like, when I kind of talk about what I don't like or where I fall short, that's what actually brings us together and helps me to overcome that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like my key lessons, that the very same things that what I thought would bring the relationship apart actually brought it closer together. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was one of my key takeaways, is that you want to be honest with your partner because A, you know what you're signing up for, and B, if it's the right person, you'll see how that conversation is going to bless the both of you, and it's going to turn that, whatever that is, into something beautiful over time. So that's one thing. And another thing that really helped me in discerning if this is the right person is that, it might kind of sound a little bit self-righteous, but the way I look at it is that, is this person going to bring you closer to heaven? So that's like one thing that I've noticed with Jesse, is that there's things that we do that help us become better Christians. For example, prayer. So prayer was something that, wouldn't it be kind of nice to pray with your partner?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You can relate to that. And in fact, I remember, like, before I met to Jessie, I was talking to another girl. It wasn't a romantic relationship, but we were just talking about, like, she was telling about how she was, like, dating a guy, and they would call each other and they would pray. I'd be like, well, that's kind of cool. I was like, I wish I could do that, in my mind, even though, again, I was growing in faith, that seemed to be like, PhD level, like, unattainable, But it was kind of interesting how, like, it's not like we, like, signed a contract that we're going to pray. It just kind of happened. And it's one of those things that, however long our day is, or whatever happens, or however late we come home, we always pray before going to bed. And it's such a beautiful thing. And it's like another classic thing, how it brings us together, because before we pray, we mention all the different intentions. And, whether it's our intentions or somebody else's intentions, it's like, what a beautiful way to come together in front of God to pray about something that needs His intercession. So to me, those were that's like kind of the second element. Is your partner, maybe another way to put it, was your partner is helping you get closer to God. And so to me, I'm like a big fitness person. I love being fit. One of the things that I don't do as much these days, but I really turn my fitness upside. I mean, like, really revolutionary. It was doing CrossFit. These CrossFit workouts, they're very tough. If I did it by myself, I probably will find an excuse not to do it. Mm-hmm. But B, the fact that somebody else is doing with it, that really pumps you up and gives you the energy to go to the next level. Yeah. And so to me, that's kind of like the same analogy for your spouse and or your that if you find that right person and you pray with them, it really motivates you to take your spiritual life to a whole new level.
It's interesting because we're called heart for excellence. Yeah. We're not born with a perfect heart in a sense. We're born into what, again, Bible would call sin. We're born into a fallen world, a sinful nature. And we hear these terms. And it's these things that create the messes in our life, the brokenness of the broken pieces. And yet we don't have to be content or settle or say, I can never get out of this. I am just broken. And when we excuse it or justify it. And even in the confession of our brokenness and our messes in this last episode and this episode, there's a reality or a truth that we recognize that something wasn't right with us. Yeah. Something wasn't right with us. And we had to figure this out. And even in the process of figuring it out, it's been very messy for me. Yeah. But we still move towards a heart of excellence. Yeah. I don't get stuck. So the adversary would say, you've screwed up too much. Yeah. You've gone too far. There ain't no turning back now. You've stayed too long. Time's up. No, we keep pressing on. We keep pressing on. And we keep pursuing what's right, good, and wholesome. Yeah. And it's so good to be here now, being able to talk about stuff that we're not proud of.
Yeah.
But yet we're proud of the great work that Christ has done in our lives and where we are. And you are so blessed to have Jessie as your wife, and I'm blessed to have Rita as my wife. And the opportunity that we have to be friends and share our stories with each other and with our listeners in hopes that they would pursue a heart of excellence, and that this might offer a little bit of a roadmap or something to fix their eyes on to get them going in the right direction.
And by the way, it's heart for excellence, my friend. Heart of excellence.
Heart for excellence. Yeah.
And it's kind of minor point, but I think that's really why we decided to use the title Heart for Excellence, because we don't mean to pretend.
It's a pursuit.
Yeah, we don't mean to pretend that our heart is excellence, but we have that desire for excellence. And though we will continually fall short, we know that if we aim high, we'll always get closer.
Yeah, and one of the most vulnerable things is, we might be running out of time here, but is reality. We're talking about this stuff, and it's easy for the talk to come into our heads. Oh, you just failed today.
Yeah.
You can't be heart for excellence because you just said this to your wife, or you acted this way. Yeah. Well, the reality is, I may have, but now I have the opportunity to go back and apologize, because the heart for excellence says, that's your stuff. You need to go deal with it. Yeah. So just a confession here as an example. I went just 2 days ago, I was impatient with Rita. I had dealing with clients that, there were some issues and some struggles and
stress. And
I just needed to be patient. And then I came out of that, and then Rita was doing something and I was like, and I wasn't very patient with her. And so it dawned on me about 5 minutes later, I go back, hey, babe, I need to apologize. I wasn't very patient with you. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
And that was so empowering.
And then that bring you guys together?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And she's
Whereas
so gracious.
before it's like, no, it's game over. It's just going to go downhill from there.
Yeah, because I got to protect and defend myself.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
Man, anyways, Marek, I think we're pretty much out of time.
Yeah,
okay.
So that screensaver came on.
Thank you for all your vulnerability and sharing and being honest and laying it out there for me and the guys and people that are listening.
Yes.
And I look forward to continue on in this journey with you as we pursue a heart for excellence.
There you go. Well, until next time, God bless, guys, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, bud.